Breaking news, Intel revealed Putin's first orders for a big war in 2023. Russian President Vladimir Putin is ordering Russian forces to seize the Donbass in eastern Ukraine by March, according to Andrei Yusov, a representative of Ukraine's main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense. Still, we can talk about the priority direction for the Rashists. This is the Donbass, Yusov said Tuesday. This is the goal of capturing Donbass and the formation of a certain security zone there, already before March. The alleged orders come just days after Putin called on General Valery Gerasimov, who previously led Russia's forces in Ukraine in the early days of the war last year, and promoted him to command Russia's troops once again. The decision has raised questions about whether Putin is interested in standing up a new offensive operation. Ukrainian intelligence, however, is not confident that Russia will be successful in seizing the Donbass by March, given that the Kremlin's armed forces have failed to complete what was supposed to be a quick takeover campaign last February. These are not the first dates. Each time these deadlines were postponed. It has been a year since the beginning of a full-scale invasion, and a year since they take Kiev for 3 days, Yusov said. Nothing will work this time. Putin, I could never have foreseen 2022's unexpected crises that I created. The Kremlin has dodged questions about the Donbass orders in recent days. When asked to comment on the reports of the new aims, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov demurred. No, I cannot comment on it, and have zero intention of doing it, Peskov said, according to TASS. Ukrainian authorities, including Ukrainian President Zelensky himself, have been suggesting that Moscow may be willing to launch a new assault in the new year to try to seize any initiative it can after a series of routes on the battlefield. Following months of logistics and morale problems among Russian forces, Ukraine launched numerous counteroffensives last year, forcing Russia out of territories in south and northeast Ukraine, including in Kherson. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization has begun recognizing that the war may be about to enter a new phase. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg said the war was entering a decisive time, urging NATO allies to send more weaponry to Ukraine to help secure a victory against Russia. We are in a crucial phase of the war, Stoltenberg told German outlet Handelsblatt. It is therefore important that we provide Ukraine with the weapons it needs to win. In the intervening days, Russia has continued its attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure, according to a Tuesday briefing from Ukraine's military. Just this weekend, Russian attacks rained down on an apartment complex in Dnipro, killing 44 people, according to the mayor of Dnipro, Boris Filatov. Having no significant achievements in the battlefield, the opponent strikes peaceful settlements, spokesman of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Andriy Kovalev said. The Russian aggressor continues to destroy infrastructure and civilian homes. Russia has recently claimed that it is making gains in Soledar, where fierce fighting has taken hold. But despite moments of apparent success, Russia's war effort has been riddled with infighting. Russia's military claimed victory in Soledar, only to be contradicted by fighters from the mercenary group, the Wagner Group, which has accused Russia's government of taking credit for Wagner's work in Soledar. And although Russia has already staked its claim on Soledar, reports indicate Ukrainians are still fighting, RFE/RL reported. Biden reaches a vital new tipping point on Ukraine. The West has reached its latest fateful crossroads over Ukraine. Looming decisions on deepening support for Kiev's fight against Russian President Vladimir Putin's onslaught have been rendered even more critical by a winter battlefield that was more dynamic than the expected frozen stalemate. Time is also fast ebbing for the U.S. and its allies to send more powerful weapons and to train Ukrainian soldiers how to use them before the second, possibly decisive year of the war, which could see Russia launch a ferocious new offensive. The aching humanitarian cost of the conflict and the justification for Western aid was, meanwhile, laid bare by the horror of a Russian cruise missile attack on a 9-story apartment block in Dnipro, in central Ukraine, that killed 45 people, including 6 children. The tragedy exacerbated the depravity of an unprovoked war and renewed calls for Putin to face war crime charges. It also underscored that any hopes for a negotiated end to the war are more distant than ever, a fact that seems to have injected new resolve and unity into the Western alliance at a critical moment. Partners are now committing tanks and armored vehicles to Ukraine. Several are joining the U.S. in sending Patriot anti-missile missiles, steps that would have been off limits early in the war in order to avoid further provoking Putin. Ukraine, given its desperate plight, will always want more. And while the West's coming choices will ultimately be based on an assessment of its own interests, the context of Ukraine's agony and courage is impossible to ignore. We are facing the collapse of the world as we know it, the way we are accustomed to it or to what we aspire, said Ukrainian First Lady Alina Zelenska at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Tuesday, in the latest heart-wrenching and well-timed intervention from Ukraine's expert messaging effort.